Hey everyone, welcome to Judging for the Win. I'm Dave, and this is my daily ruling. Today's question was suggested by a viewer, thanks to I'm Not Fine for this one. The top card of Amy's library is revealed by Lantern of Insight to be Emrakul, the Eon's Torn, and Nick activates Pyxis of Pandemonium, exiling it face down. Amy plays an Ulamog the Defiler. How many counters does it enter with? And the answer is probably not as many as Amy's hoping for. Cards that are exiled face down are considered by the game to have no characteristics. This is true even in situations like the original problem statement where all the players know the card's identity, and thus what the value of those characteristics would be if the card were face up. Mana cost is a characteristic, and accordingly, the face down Emrakul is considered to have no mana cost, and thus a mana value of 0, which is the default mana value that's assigned to anything that doesn't have a mana cost. Well, that's a bummer for Amy, but I've got an idea that might cheer her up. Let's consider what would happen if we had a Rest in Peace in play and Nick used a Wasteland Strangler to put the Emrakul into Amy's graveyard. What would happen then? Well, the replacement effect from Rest in Peace would make it so that instead of going to the graveyard, the Emrakul would be exiled. Except it's already exiled. That's a little unusual, but would you believe that there's a rule just for cases like this? The Emrakul does not change zones, but it does become a new object that's just been exiled. This has a couple of implications for our scenario. First, because it's a new object, it's no longer considered to have been exiled with Pyxis of Pandemonium, which means if Nick, for some reason, uses the second secret ability of that card, the Emrakul would not be returned. Second, and probably more importantly, the new effect, the exiled Emrakul, did not say to exile it face down, so that means it will be turned face up, since that's the default in cases where the effect doesn't say. Remember, even though the Emrakul isn't changing zones, it still is getting exiled. Finally, let's tie up a couple of other loose ends from that scenario that you might be wondering about. Emrakul says to shuffle it into your library when it goes to the graveyard, but with a Rest in Peace out, the event of Emrakul going to the graveyard is completely replaced by exiling it. Accordingly, there is no point at which the Emrakul is in your graveyard, and therefore its ability does not trigger. That raises another question though. Wasteland Strangler's ability says if you do put a card from exile into a graveyard, will this ability still give -3/-3 if no card was physically put into a graveyard? And it turns out the answer is yes, because there's a rule specifically for cases like this too. The if you do clause on Wasteland Strangler checks only whether you chose to put something in the graveyard, not what actually happened after that choice was made. I talked about this concept in detail in my video on Shakedown Heavy and Narset, so you can check that out if you'd like a fuller explanation. That's all I have for you today. How did you do? Join me again next time for another daily ruling. Until then, I hope you have a great day.